if you are trying to scale your business and yet you feel like you got to be in every sales conversation, then you're not going to scale your business. So you yourself are the one who's going to be the bottleneck to scale because of whatever hang up you have about having to be in every deal. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to hit a lid in terms of your growth, and you're going to stay stuck there. And all the people that, you're talking to that you think they want to talk to you, really what they're thinking in the back of their mind is, why am I talking to the founder? This must be a really small time operation if I'm having to talk to the founder. And so this whole ego stroke that we get from, well, no one can sell like I can, or I'm the best salesperson and people want to talk to me because I'm the founder. Well, guess what? You're building yourself a really nice job. You're not building a company. So good luck. Have fun with that.
Welcome back to Whiskey is for Closers. I'm Craig Johnson, and if you're listening to this between sales calls because you literally can't find 5 minutes in your day that aren't about revenue, well, then this episode is for you. Joining me as always are Steve Caton, the founder of Altezza Solutions, and Drew Epperson, who once told a founder to fire himself from sales to his base. Take that! Gentlemen, take that! Gentlemen, what are we drinking today?
You go first,
Steve,
Drew.
Okay, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I have been excited about this because I can't find this where I live. I recently went up to Lexington, Kentucky, and of course they had it there. Are you guys ready for this? Here we go. This is Rabbit Hole.
Yeah.
Rabbit Hole.
But
That's
it
in
is
Louisville,
finished
Kentucky.
100%, but it's finished in a sherry cask. So
There
I
you go,
say,
baby.
thank you, Miss Sherry, for finishing in a cask. I appreciate that. Here we go. One of my absolute favorites.
Very
That's
nice.
a really cool looking distillery too.
For
Really?
sure.
Put it on the
Yeah.
list. We got to go.
Yeah, it's within
Okay.
walking distance of downtown. It's great.
There's a really
Love
cool restaurant in Colorado Springs called the Rabbit Hole too, which is really good. Really good. So,
Nice.
awesome.
Well, Steve,
well done,
you
Drew.
go. I'll make you go last, Steve, because mine
Okay.
is not fun. So, hey, you know what? I'm going with just a Modelo. This is my go-to beer with a lime, though. That is a must, right? Keeping it real with the drinks while others overthink it. It's a beer day today. That's all.
Beer
Modelo
day.
with a lime.
The name of the podcast is not Brewskis Are for Closers.
Brewskis is for openers. Whiskey is for closers.
I have to
Boom.
take my son to soccer practice.
Okay. Safety first.
Responsible.
Safety first. Which is why when I'm drinking and driving, Modelo is my choice.
Not an official sponsor.
I don't really do.
Awesome. All right. Well, Drew, I'm glad to see you're kind of following my lead with the interesting whiskeys or bourbons that are aged in different casks and whatnot, because I found another one. This one is called Penelope Project X. Okay. So very obscure. Never heard of it. Amanda, our friend, Andrea, remember Drew, you introduced me to here in Georgia, who has the property and is invited just to come hang out and do whiskey and cigars. So she told me about Penelope. So I checked out this brand, it's a cool husband-wife distillery story. So I thought that was cool. And then I saw this come out on Wooden Cork, which is Project X, which is where they basically are taking their whiskeys and, doing the whole thing, pushing the boundaries by blending in various barrels and, finishes and all that. So this one, Drew, is finished in a Oloroso sherry and cognac casks.
Didn't understand the
Sherry,
first word, but I got the
like
other
that.
ones.
I don't know what Oloroso sherry is. Maybe
Cognac's great, though.
she sounds like a really exotic sherry. Anyway,
Thank you, Miss Sherry. I appreciate you for
Project
making a
X
good.
from Penelope, and look at that. Look at how dark that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't Project X an obscure 1980s movie about experiments on monkeys?
Probably sounds about right.
Never watched that
was a
movie
deep
before.
cut. That was a deep cut for Whiskey
That's
is
a
for
deep
Closers.
cut. That's like,
Right?
was that like
Awesome.
gain of function research or something?
Totally. Okay, guys, today we are talking about something that hits close to home for every founder listening. And it's that moment when you realize that you've become a prisoner in your own sales department. I mean, Steve, you obviously witnessed this for years in your sales career and then have lived it in starting Altezza, which is obviously meant to solve that problem, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So tell us about the moment that you realized you couldn't scale Altezza if you kept running every single deal. And it might have been before you even started, but kind of give us a little bit of both pictures there.
Yes, I knew that before I started, but that was because of
Yes.
what you mentioned before, which is I've seen this before. And so I started Altezza to correct that problem, address the problem. So I knew when I started it that I wasn't going to do it, but I knew I was always also going to hit that moment because when I started Altezza, it was just me. And the first 3 or 4 customers that came in were ones I worked. So I closed them and then I did the sales for them. So it was really fast when I realized I can't do both, but I let go of serving the clients first, right? As you know, and I've started building our sales team and then I kept selling. And so it was probably, I don't know, it was probably what, a year or so, year and a half into that where I've realized, okay, I've reached the limit of my ability to do this well because I was doing, you and I were working on just building the systems and processes. We were trying to figure out how to recruit salespeople. We were serving the customers. I was doing my rainmaking stuff and then selling. And so it was like, holy cow, we're going to hit a growth lid here really fast. Yeah. So I knew I knew when the signs showed up, it was time. It didn't take long.
Yeah. So, Drew, obviously you sit in a little bit of a different seat, right? As the director of business development and the primary salesperson for Altezza. Talk to us a little bit about what it means for founders who actually love to sell and are kind of addicted to the close, right?
That's me. That was me.
Well, and here's the thing. People who are usually in that are really good at what they do. They're really good at not just the tactics of selling, because there's the tactics of selling, and then there's the belief in what it is you're doing. And, I think when I was a part of this, I felt both. I was going, okay, there's some things that I can learn, I can get better at. There's the tactics side, but then there's the belief of going, hey, what it is we're doing is really not just like impactful, it's helping change people's lives. And I think what can be
explain that a little bit, Drew. Nuance on that a little bit for like a founder that's like, okay, that's getting a little bit too out there.
A little squishy.
Sell widgets. Like, how am I changing people's lives? Expand on that a little bit, because I think you're right, but get more granular so we can understand kind of what you mean by that phrase.
Yeah. So I think the changing people's lives is less about the product itself. And I think it's more about, why did I do this to begin with? Right? It's the why. It's like what Simon Sinek always talks about, is going, why do I do what I do? It's not just about the money. It's not just about providing a good product or service or whatever that is. It's really going, what is that motivation, that drive for why I put the time, the hours, the frustrations, like why do I put up with the headaches? Why do I do all these things? And so that is where the changing of the lives is, again, less about what it is you're producing and what it is you're providing. And it's more about this like belief that what I am doing is impacting a part of the world, society, my corner of the universe, whatever you want to call that. There really is something involved in there. And so founders, a lot of times that I have seen, cling to sales because they fear that no one's going to do it right. Right. I put that in air quotes. But their version of right is often unsustainable, because their personal involvement becomes the hidden cost, slowing decisions, limiting scalability, and killing delegation, like finding the right people on the bus. We talk about finding the right person to fill the right seat on the bus. But if every close depends on your calendar, your growth ceiling really becomes your schedule, right? Like that really becomes that growth lid.
That's really interesting. Drew, one of the things that struck me as you were saying that is talented team members. It doesn't matter if it's in sales or maybe it's in a different area of your business. Talented team members are not going to stick around if you're not going to let them cook, right? Like, let them go. You're not going to
Yep.
keep talent around you if you don't let them loose.
Well, and I want to say, because one of the things that I experienced with Altezza has been every time I had questions with Steve, he and I would interact. Like when I was first starting to get ramped up, Steve would look at me and go, "Hey, man, do you. Like,
Yeah.
be authentically you. Like, don't try to be me. Don't try to carbon copy the things that I say. Like, find why you believe this." So now back to the original question of like changing the world and all of that. Like, you find why you think this is important. Why do you see this as something valuable to somebody else? Because if you can see that, if you can experience that, if you can feel that, you'll be able to communicate that in a way that other people will be able to lock in and experience with you.
I think
Yeah.
we're kind of proposing a little bit here, right? Like, or supposing a little bit here. But what do you think it is that makes it so challenging for founders to let go of this particular area of their business? What is it? Is it a high? Is it control? Is it fear? What is it that keeps founders stuck, in your opinion, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like that.
Bingo.
All that.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, I can just speak for myself. It's, obviously, I love sales. So I'm one of those founders who love sales, and that's not true of every founder. I know plenty of founders who hate it, but I loved it. And there's absolutely a dopamine hit that happens when you close a deal. And that's a lot of fun. It just feels very validating. And so that's part of it. There's the control piece of it as well, and fear. And I think I think control is rooted in fear, right? Those things are closely linked. And I think the fear is, as I think about it, it's like, okay, when you're first selling the thing that you're offering, even if you know it well because you invented it, there is still this whole process that happens as you start to go to market and have conversations for the first time where you're getting these questions you've never heard about before. You're literally forming your sales scripting. You're on the fly, right? And you're doing it on the fly, and you're doing it based on your personal experience and what you believe to be true about what it is you're selling. And you, as a founder, you can do that. It's a little bit of a fake it till you make it kind of a situation, but you can do that because you are the founder, right? And so you learn how to basically address objections, answer all these questions, and you realize, man, it took me months to get to the place where I really felt like, oh man, I can flow with this. And now I've got to try to figure out how to get somebody else to flow with it. That feels daunting, right? That feels daunting. So I think that's where the great hesitation comes from is, man, how long is it going to take? How can I transfer that to somebody else? And are they going to be able to do it as quickly as I did? That's where typically what happens is the founder goes, screw it, I'll just keep doing it myself.
Dude, that is so good. A lot of founders think that people buy because of them.
Yeah.
Their passion, their vision, their charisma. But customers, maybe I would even argue customers are buying clarity and confidence, not the founder's charm, right? So at some point, you get to the point where you're not selling yourself anymore, because if it only works when you're in the room, that's not a sales process, that's a performance, right? So how do you start to transfer a performance? This is where process comes into play. And that's where, Steve, I think you did such a great job with this whole thing of going, hey, let's understand what this process is, because you are you're uniquely you, and no one will ever be able to sell just like you. And so when you bring in other people, it's going, hey, I know that this story has been told before, but it hasn't been told by you yet. How would you tell this story? And that's where the power of sales comes in, is going how you would uniquely talk about this vision.
Well, yeah, Drew, you and I can't go in and be like, well, when I started Altezza.
Right, exactly.
It doesn't.
Bingo.
Disingenuous, it's not true. It's just a totally different level. But we can talk about it in some ways with a different level of credibility because we bought in at a different point within the business, right? We bought into the vision and we bought into the idea, even though we didn't create it.
Well, and when you get to the place, Steve, I told you this, and Craig, I told you this about a year and a half ago. I said, listen, you're going to have to kick me out, fire me, do all the things, because I believe in what it is we are doing here, the mission, the culture, everything here. Like, I believe in it. And when you get somebody who's bought in and believes in something, they will run through walls for you, man. They will go above and beyond. And when you can capture that culture and that vision inside, you have a dynamic team. So I'm just speaking as somebody who got to be able to come in a little bit down the road, and that's where I find myself.
I have a comment or an observation, Steve, about kind of how our customers have changed through the years.
Yeah.
Off of something that you and Drew were talking about there. But I'd love for you to kind of unpack, there are certain prospects that are pains to deal with. And typically they're like, I just want to talk to the CEO or the founder. How do you deal with a founder who's dealing with prospects like that? Or the founder's like, look, people just want to buy from me. They don't want to buy from my team. What do you do there?
Well, I mean, we've actually had those people. We've worked with those people. So, and I know exactly what I said to them, which is number one, if you are trying to scale your business and yet you feel like you got to be in every sales conversation, then you're not going to scale your business. So you yourself are the one who's going to be the bottleneck to scale because of whatever hang up you have about having to be in every deal. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to hit a lid in terms of your growth and you're going to stay stuck there. And all the people that, you're talking to that you think they want to talk to you, really what they're thinking in the back of their mind is, why am I talking to the founder? This must be a really small time operation if I'm having to talk to the founder. And so this whole ego stroke that we get from, well, no one can sell like I can, or I'm the best salesperson and people want to talk to me because I'm the founder. Well, guess what? You're building yourself a really nice job. You're not building a company. So good luck. Have fun with that.
Oh, that's good. What's fun, there are two things that came to mind out of all of this. One, I don't think we've ever talked about that Whiskey is for Closers actually started as a celebration and we still do it as a celebration. Every time we have a close, we all jump on a call once a week and we toast. We get whiskey and we toast to the closes that happen that week. And so that's how this whole idea of Whiskey is for Closers even started. But then it's been super interesting watching from almost the very beginning how our customer base has drastically shifted from people that only knew you and said yes because they knew you, Steve, to customers that might not ever even meet with you anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Might know you on the website. If they're in the DWI path, they might know you in certification, but they might not even ever talk to you at all.
Dude, I celebrated that. I remember when that first happened, when a customer showed up, I'd never heard of him. Who is that? And I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is exactly what I was hoping for, because when I started Altezza, like we've talked about this before on other episodes about owner's intent, right?
Yeah.
Why am I building this company? Well, I knew when I started Altezza, I'm building it because I want to exit someday and not at my desk, or in a coffin. I actually want to have a really good legacy type exit. Well, I knew that if I couldn't figure this out, then I'm a company that depends on me to close every deal is a company I cannot sell, period. So when I saw that was happening, I'm like, yes, we are on our way.
This is a little bit of a rabbit trail, but what comes to mind, Steve, is how much we emphasized really focusing in on our ideal client and identifying who are the people that are most likely that we can help and that are most likely to say yes to us. Talk a little bit about the importance of really dialing in your ideal client profile so that it expands beyond your own personal network as a founder.
Yeah, just you said it. You just talked about the importance of it right there. Again, going back to what I was saying is if we're going to scale a company that has value that somebody else is willing to pay, then the founder cannot be the single point of failure for all things sales, right? And so if that's true, if we know that that's true, founder can't be the single point of failure, then you've got to think in terms of, okay, we have to sell beyond the founder, which means we have to go identify who is our ideal client. and what's true about the ideal client, and who are the personas within that ideal client company that we need to sell to. We better be really clear about that, because then when I bring Drew on, right, when Drew came on and I'm equipping him to now take the sales baton, if I don't know those things and he's just trying to figure that out, well, good luck with that. He'll do it because he's smart, but it's just going to delay the time it takes for him to get up to speed and selling, in the groove, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about the smart part, but what I will say is that clarity around the ideal client. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, when you talk about it, everybody nods their head and they go, duh, of course. But yet when you start to like pull the kimono back and you start to go, okay, let's start to get into the details and understanding who this is, where they are, what that ideal client looks like. I would even say over this past couple of years, like, it's kind of like nuance shifted and changed over time, right? So like, we've even held this loose enough to be able to go, okay, where have we seen this start to kind of drift into in a positive way? Where are these points that start to clarify and help us get really clear on where they are and who they are and where they live and all that. So I think even the point of getting clear on that is absolutely a pivotal piece to it all.
Yeah, but to your point, Drew, it's like, yeah, be clear about it, but don't be rigid, right? So it's clarity, but with flexibility, because if you think this is your ideal client profile, then you start pursuing it, likely what you're going to learn, just like we did, that what we thought was our ideal client profile early on is different than what it is today.
And it was right for that season.
Yeah.
But then as we've kind of grown and taken on a new identity, or we've kind of realized who we really are, who we're becoming, like, that thing evolves and changes. And it's like, you have to be okay with that and flexible with that and go, yeah, this is shifting. And I think that's okay for all of us to be able to do that.
Yeah, we better be able to do it, honestly, because adaptability and agility is like, that is the key superpower in today's business world. So if we can't do that, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah. And I got to say, if you're just listening to this podcast and you're not watching it on YouTube, you really missed out, because Drew is actually wearing a kimono. And when he said open the kimono, he actually opened the kimono. And so it's like this whole like visual picture that you just got to see it on YouTube. It's pretty.
Which is why the rating on this podcast is not going to be where we want it to be.
Fine. Rated PG.
I was thinking more in terms of 5-star versus 1-star.
Yeah, 1 star.
Jeez. You open up my kimono, you're going negative stars. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right.
Drew, what was interesting is, Steve and I really just innately, Steve started the business. I was here from like almost month one. I mean, it was a few months in, but like from the very beginning. So we had a lot of experience directly with customers. I had been able to see very close up, how are we delivering? What's the behind the scenes, opening the kimono, if you will. But when we brought you in, you had a little bit of a different experience, right? So you didn't know all of the behind the scenes. You didn't know how we delivered. There were a lot of things that just because of your role, you weren't a part of different conversations and different experiences that Steve and I had for over a year or two. You pushed the envelope for us in ways of simplifying things, right? Talk a little bit about what it's like to come into an existing organization as a new person and you want to make an impact, but things are way too complex. And how do you simplify that for, a new salesperson? How do you put the cookies on the bottom shelf, so to speak?
This is an interesting one, and one that put that in my position, you kind of put yourself out there and going, let's kind of see where this is going to go, because this could go really bad or it could go really good. I don't know. And it's usually one of those two extremes. I would say that a lot of this for me was going, okay, talk me through, help me understand. So if we do this, then if that's the case, then what about this? So I'm processing and going, okay, walk me through each one of these steps, right? And I remember asking lots of questions. I remember going, walk me through the process. I remember sitting there going, okay, but if that's the case, if A plus B is supposed to equal C, it feel like it's delivering E. I get it. I'm not the smartest, sharpest tool in the shed. Maybe I'm missing it. I'm totally open to understanding and playing that role. But, and if that's the case, then help me understand that. Here, Drew, here's where you're missing it. Here, okay, got it. I missed that. Or actually, Drew, we are kind of skipping, or we're making a bunch of assumptions, because when we're sitting in a room creating ideas, I've been here a million times, when you're creating a bunch of good ideas and you're the one who's been there from the beginning, you tend to make assumptions that everybody else has been a part of that process.
Yes.
You take the assumption that everybody else has gone along that journey with you, but not everybody has. So now you're going, how do we make sure that as we're working, developing, and creating this thing, we're not skipping the steps and we're bringing people in that haven't been a part of that process, right? And so I think it's having that confidence to going, I've been in sales long enough. I know these questions to ask. And if I'm missing something, I think there potentially could be something missing here that maybe hasn't been addressed. And if it has been addressed, so I think that's really been a huge piece of going, I'll own where I've missed it, but I'm going to bring it up. And if I look stupid, I'm willing to own that hat.
Yeah. I mean, I remember as you were talking, Drew, I go back to some restaurant that the three of us were sitting at in Nashville having breakfast. You guys remember that? It was early. It was the first time we all got together face to face, and we were in Nashville. And we'd been in this season that you're talking about, where you were just like really pressing in and asking a lot of questions. And then it was like everything kind of came together there. And I remember you were like, yes, I got this, and I think that what's instructive about that for founders who are listening is when you have Drew, you were fearless in terms of just asking questions, and you didn't care if I thought you looked dumb doing it, which I didn't.
Sure.
I appreciated all the questions. In fact, the more I think I hope I'm self-aware enough to realize that the fact that you were asking me so many questions is what triggered Craig and I to go, we've made this too complex. Like we need to simplify, right? Like it shouldn't be this freaking hard. So it wasn't like I wasn't frustrated with you. I was going, why have we made this so difficult? And so that forced us to really start thinking about how do we simplify this so that what you can sell is not so nebulous, right? And so hard to wrap your head around. And so we did simplify things. And when we did, I saw you just feel like, yes, I've got it now. I can do this. I can go. So I think what's instructive for founders is you have a salesperson leaning in and asking you a lot of questions. The last thing you want to do is dismiss them, treat them like shit because you think they're dumb. What's happening there is they're trying to get inside your head. And if it's not clear, you need to look in the mirror and go, what can I do to make this simpler, right?
I want to add, because I think there's a big piece to this. I felt safe to ask a bunch of questions with you guys. Meaning, I knew that if I were to ask a bunch of questions, I wasn't going to be met with, what the hell's wrong with you, dude? Like, how are you not grasping this, right? Like, I knew I wasn't going to be met, or I was going to be like, Drew, listen, it's really, okay, got it. Simple, it's easy. Talk me through how this is easy, because you've just spent 20 minutes telling me how easy this is. And if it took you 20 minutes to tell me how easy it is, I don't think it's that easy.
Not easy.
That's good.
Fair?
That's good.
That's fair, right?
Yeah.
So,
fair.
and that's where I lived, was going, if you can tell me, and I mean, I'm telling you, we have now got this thing so dialed in about like, here is the 3 sentences that like, and now when I share those 3 sentences, I've got people going, yeah, makes sense. Me raising my hand. I'm in on that. That's when you know you've hit stream of consciousness, you've hit stream of clarity, you've hit stream of just like, this is who we are. If that's not you, perfect. No harm, no foul, just boom. And that is fun to be able to be in those conversations to bring that type of.
Dude, the last 5 minutes of this conversation basically is the entire reason why, as a founder, you need to let go of sales. But everything we just talked about, right? Because giving it to somebody else, passing that baton, is forcing clarity. clarity is what is going to be attractive to your prospects, right? That's what attracts people to your business is clarity. If there's not enough clarity there to bring somebody on to represent, then this process of bringing somebody on is going to force the clarity. Man, that was awesome. I love that. It's such a great testimony to why this matters.
Yeah. And Drew, you've done this not only with us, but you've done this in serving customers as well.
Yeah.
So, if you were to come alongside a founder who's listening to this podcast, who is having a little difficulty letting go of sales, what would you say to them?
I would say lean in and begin to ask yourself a bunch of questions as to why maybe this process is the way you're experiencing it. Because when you get to the point where you're experiencing, like, I'll use an example. I've been in an account where a particular individual had gone through, I didn't know this until you get into an account where they had gone through a couple of different salespeople, right? So I'm starting to talk to other people on the team. I'm starting to learn. I'm starting to find out. I'm starting to gain understanding. And I'm starting to go, okay, I have my experience. And now I'm talking to other people who have had their experiences. Are they aligned? Are they separate? Where could that be me? Because if they're not lining up, maybe that's a me thing. But if they're lining up, I think there might be a trend here that is kind of flowing, right? And so what I would say is that talk to the people on your team and ask them, say, hey, and it's just so hard because it's like you can walk in with the intention of wanting to learn and the ego gets touched and immediately defensive walls go up and you're immediately going, okay, he asked me the question. They said they wanted to learn, but immediately I learned they're not wanting to understand. They're not really seeking to understand. So what I would say is go, okay, how do you really seek to understand? Because you have really talented people on your team, founder. I can tell you that you don't get to where you're at, wherever it is you're at, without having talented people. So I would say sit down and say, I want to learn. I want to understand. What are some of the things you're experiencing? What are some of the things that are frustrating for you? What are some of the wins that you're experiencing? How can we get better? And if you can open up yourself to just hearing feedback, and then you start to do that from several people, there will be a streamline of, okay, 5 different people have told me very similar things. I probably need to listen to those things. That would be my suggestion, is go into that and open yourself up to hearing some of that feedback.
That's interesting. I love that, Drew. And Steve, I kind of want to pivot a little bit. Mindset obviously is super important, right? You mentioned owner's intent as a part of that. But, when you think about our observation, like Drew's and my observation of watching you go through this, there's a layer of ease that it feels like you just had. But I know that that's not true. So talk about how you got the right mindset to be able to empower your team. And really, in this case, not just me, but empowering Drew to take over something that you love to do, which is sales, for something that you have invested everything to build, and that's Altezza. How did you get the right mindset to be able to do that? And how would you encourage other founders who maybe are wanting to do the same thing, like sincerely they want to do the same thing, but they're just struggling with maybe different aspects or different lies that they keep telling themselves? How did you combat that?
For me, it's rooted in a story and an experience that I had when I went from being a producer, a closer, which I had been for a great, number of years in my sales career. I was a closer, I was a producer. And then I had the opportunity to go from a producer to actually a leader of salespeople. And I remember when I made that transition, I was really nervous about it because I thought, man, where am I going to find the fulfillment if I'm not the one closing the deal? Like, as a producer for so many years, I was really afraid that I was not going to be fulfilled by that. But, when somebody gives you the opportunity to do that, you say yes to it. And so I said yes to it. And here's what happened for me is I learned through the experience. I didn't know this was going to happen clearly, but what happened was I actually found myself more fulfilled by watching other people succeed and helping them succeed than I was in my own success. And that was a huge game-changing moment for me in my career and in my mindset. Going back to the mindset piece, I realized, holy cow, Maybe it's how God wired me, or maybe this is just how we are as humans. I don't know. But I just realized helping other people be successful was way more fulfilling
Hmm.
than just me being successful. So that mindset followed me for the rest of my days, including when I started Altezza. So I knew that, when it was time to start building a team, I'm going to empower that team to be successful because I'm not going to get anywhere without them. So I learned when leading those salespeople, the way that I led them was release them to be who they are and do their thing, but then be there to coach and to guide and to instruct when, things don't go the way they want to, beat them up about it. Like, hey, what do we learn from that? Right. So yeah, that was wired into my DNA through my previous experience. So I had that coming into Altezza. So I'm really thankful for that, because before that, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
And if I were to like as I was listening to you, Steve, I was sitting here going, you reframed what success looked like. So like at first, success looked like you closing all the deals. Later, success looked like you building a team that closes deals without you.
Yes.
And a lot of founders, they never make that mental shift. So they still judge their value by how much they personally closed that month, right?
Yeah.
But the real scale happens when your name stops showing up on every revenue support or report, right? Like that to me, like that's when you shared with me, you're like, I don't know who these people, I remember you going, Drew, you just closed the deal. I don't know who they are. I don't know where they came from. Your name wasn't on that report. And that was a major win for you.
Yeah.
You had shown what it looks like to redefine what success is. And that really starts to open up the scaling side of things, I think, in my personal opinion.
I 100% agree. That is a barometer for me to know that it's working. The more frequently I see my name not on any reports related to sales, the more I know that this is working.
Yeah. Well, and as I'm listening to all of this too, I'm realizing we have a ways to go, right? Because your name is still on some of the reports, not as prominent as it used to be, but
yeah.
I think it takes time to get the founder fully out, especially if you love sales.
Yeah,
it
fully
takes
out.
time to get you fully out.
Well, plus we're still scaling, right? So
yes.
It's like, it's
Bingo.
a capacity scale thing, right? So we're probably at that point where bringing another salesperson is right. Their time is right to do that, right? Because all the signs that showed up when we brought Drew in are now showing up again. I'm diving back in to help, and I'm like, okay, we probably need to add this. It's time to add a salesperson.
Yeah. I was leading to this, Steve, because I wanted you to kind of unpack when you as a CEO or a business leader are hitting a growth lid.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can feel it. The business, you're working harder than ever, and growth just feels tougher than ever.
Yeah.
Unpack the signs of what that looks like, what that feels like, how to recognize when it's time for you to add more firepower to your revenue engine, so to speak, or add another salesperson into the team.
Yeah, I love this question. And there's a whole, conversation you could have just around that topic, but I break it down into some leading indicators and some lagging indicators. The leading indicators are really a lot like about how it feels, but there's some really tangible things that are happening. So one of them is all of a sudden as a founder, you are multitasking like a madman, like literally like a madman. And there's so many people who take pride in, oh, I'm such a great multitasker. Well, BS. Multitasking sucks. You're not good at any of it, right? It's not like humanly, like the way our brain works when we're doing all that task switching, we suck at everything that we're doing, whether we admit it or not. So if there's a lot of that going on, that's a leading indicator. The other thing is, if you look at the multitasking, if you analyze, okay, what kind of activities am I engaged in here? What you'll see is the revenue generating activities are going down, and all these other busy work or other things you're doing is going up, right? So there's a reduction in revenue generating activities that's significant. And if you color code your calendar like I do, because I'm OCD, then you'll see that in real time. The other thing you'll see from a leading indicator standpoint is all of a sudden deals begin to stall in your pipeline. And where they're going to stall is early or late. in the sales process, not in the middle, but early. And they'll stall early because you don't have time to do the follow up, right? So you have a discovery call. It sounds good. Everything's great. They need to have some more processing time. They need to talk to other people. You don't have the time to follow up with them. So that deal just stays stuck in early stage, right? The other place it's going to stick is in the late stage, because what happens is you in your, in your rush to get something done, you moved a deal all the way to proposal, and then you sent the proposal and like, well, why are they not closing? Why did they not sign this thing? It's signed proposal. Let's go. What the hell's taking so long? Well, you didn't do all the homework you needed to do to establish value, or you missed a critical decision process detail. And so there it is, stuck at the end of your pipeline. So if you see all those things happening, man, if you see all that stuff happening, it's time. It's time. You need a salesperson, your first one, and you need the next one. And what it feels like inside is anxiety and stress and waking up at 3:30 in the freaking morning all the time.
You don't know what that feels like, do you, Steve?
No, not at all. No,
That's a
none of us
theory.
do.
No, it's a theory. You never
None of us
experienced it.
do. Yeah.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
don't wake up in the middle of the night at all.
Yeah.
Drew, I had you do this, if you were coming alongside a founder, right? But you were the salesperson coming alongside the founder. What lessons would you share to another salesperson that is taking over from founder-led sales?
First of all, there has to be a respect for the owner that has been sitting there, right? The respect of going, man, I understand you have poured hours of time, love, all the thing that has made it what it is today. There has to be this just pause and honor anything that has come before you and where it is you're saying, hey, I'm taking the baton from here. I think that has to be done first and foremost. There has to be that acknowledgement of that. Then it turns into, okay, can I walk alongside of you? And so I can start to understand and work that, right? So I can start to go, hey, I don't want to sound like you. I was thinking of this in terms of my kids. So I've got a 17, 14, and 12-year-old. And I'm going, okay, my goal is not for my 17-year-old son, to look like me, sound like me, talk like me. There's going to be characteristics and traits that he has of me, but it's not to turn him into a clone of me. It's really starting to go, have I given you the principles and the foundation and the view and the starting point for you to go out and for you to flourish in who you are and your expression, but really from this core, this is who we are and this is who we're becoming. So if I start from that kind of concept, that's how I approach, or I tried to approach this, of going, okay, I'm here not to be a facsimile of Steve or Craig. I'm here to be me, because that's what people engage with. They're here. They like me. There's a reason they want to engage with me. But at the same time, there are these core principles and foundation of Altezza. There is the characteristics that make it unique. What do I believe to be true about those? And how does that match up with who I am and who I'm becoming? So if I kind of take those parallels, that's how I start to at least try to frame it and try to understand it from that standpoint of going, okay, that's really kind of the general direction. So I know that's still kind of squishy, and I don't know if that maybe opens up any more else, but that's, I guess, generally how I try to view that.
No, that's good. And I think the idea of honoring is really important there, right? Because somebody sacrificed a lot for the company
100%.
to get to where it is. And so just recognizing that and appreciating that, I think, goes a long way. But, plot twist, right? Stepping back actually accelerates growth. So, Steve, Drew and I already know this, but what happened at Altezza when you stepped back and we brought in our own fractional sales professional?
Yeah, this is love. I've got this screenshot that I have saved on my desktop that I pull up whenever I'm in a sales conversation and the founder's asking me about all this, I'll pull it up and show it. And what it shows is that from the month that Drew started, there was this chart in HubSpot that showed deal volume in that year, the current year that Drew came in, versus the previous year. And deal volume is literally tracking on exactly the same path as the previous year. And then Drew comes in, and then a month later, you start to see it tick up. and then it ticks up again, and then it ticks up again. And by the end of that year, Drew, you came in May. So by December of that year, the deal volume had doubled from what it had been in the previous year. And that's a direct result of what we're talking about here, right? Because what happened? So number one, the deals that were in process now had somebody who was more focused on moving them through the process in a really good way, and there was focus. You didn't have any distractions like I did. That was your job, so you were moving those deals. But then I got freed up to go do more of the thing I needed to be doing, which was the rainmaking, right? And so because I got to do more of that created more leads, and that created more deals. So so it was this amazing thing that happened where when I finally got the heck out of that sales seat from the standpoint of babysitting the deals through the pipeline, I could just go do the one thing that I really needed to be doing at that time, which is networking and making connections with strategic partners and speaking and all the things I do to create interest and awareness of Altezza. So, I mean, dude, it was a tangible result. And a lot of times we talk about sometimes you go backwards before you go forwards, and that's a legit principle, right? Sometimes you kind of slow down before you go quick. But for us, and I think this is a testament to Craig, because we had built a good sales process and we had done the work you talked about, Drew, in terms of all the questions you were asking and really digging in and let's simplify. You were able to hit the ground running pretty
100%.
quickly. And so we really didn't go backwards at all. It was like, nope, this accelerated immediately. So
Yeah.
it was amazing.
Dude,
Yeah.
I will tell you. Sorry, Karen, go ahead.
Well, no, do your thought and then I'll give mine.
All I was going to say was to the point of going the operations and the structure that kind of supported all of the work that's being done, right? Because if you don't have that organizational system there to support the work being done, as a salesperson, you could sit there and go, I can sell till I'm blue in the face, but if there's no structure to support and hold all this work up, then that's super frustrating. So it was so nice to be able to go, hey, I remember we sat in that meeting in July and you had asked me, you called it the last 10%. That might be a really good thing for us to dive into at some point.
Yeah.
And I remember talking about my last 10%, and it was just like bare bones, vulnerable. Here's my concerns. We talked about it, and it was just like when I walked out of there, A, I felt safe to be able to do that. Then B, I opened myself up and going, oh my gosh, everything is there for this thing to go. I started to feel exponential growth because that support that was lying underneath there.
So this might surprise you guys, but I pulled up a spreadsheet while you were talking.
Uh-oh.
Shocker.
So the real numbers, right? A healthy business is typically going to grow between 15 to 25% year over year, right? So if you're having healthy growth, 15 to 25%, you're doing excellent. The year we brought in Drew, remember he came in May, that year we had 21% year over year growth. Okay, so that was good. Like that's really healthy. Now here's the crazy part. Year 2, so he had been with us now for 6 months, his first full year with us, we had 112% growth.
Yes.
It takes time, right? It takes time to get there, but that's the real effect of doing this the right way.
That's the flywheel
Trust
effect.
the process. Yeah. Trust the process.
And be patient. Like seriously, be owners, founders, if I can say one thing to you, freaking be patient, because that 20% growth may not feel all that spectacular in the moment, right? But then 112% growth, if you stick to it, holy cow, that's the thing. And too many founders pull the plug, before
after
that can
6
happen.
months or after 12
6 months,
right?
9 months,
yeah.
They pull the plug. That's not working. It's, it's not going fast enough, and they miss out. Yeah.
Okay, last question, and then we'll end with our toast. Either one of you can answer this, or both of you. What are the unexpected benefits that founders can discover when they stop selling?
I'll let you go first, Drew, because I'd love to hear it from your perspective, because I've been jumping in first every time.
Unexpected benefit. You may actually really enjoy a good relationship with your salesperson.
Unexpected
beyond
benefit.
Sales.
That's great. Yeah,
like beyond sales, like you actually may look and go, this is an actually cool individual or a nice person. Like enjoy having a conversation with them beyond business. I think that is and to me, I think that is key into, Craig, how you've built the process for placement of the fractional sales professionals, right? Because we are looking first and foremost at personality fit. Then you're looking at cultural fit. Then we start to talk about business industry fit, right? And if we can't nail the personality fit, I'm telling you, it's going to go awry really fast. So I would say an unexpected benefit would be just, I get it, you're busy, owner, in doing the work, but actually have a relationship with the people that you're spending the most time with or doing the biggest part of your job, and that's selling your business. If you can develop a relationship with them, I will tell you they will do things that are beyond what you would thought on a fractional basis and produce results that you never thought you could actually get. I'm just saying.
Preach it! Holy cow.
Somebody said this to me, just to put a little exclamation point. Somebody told me this to me in my 20s. They said relationships are more important than accomplishments. And yet what ends up happening is that you end up getting the accomplishments on the backside of the relationship if you can do it the right way.
Man, that'll tweet right there. Yeah. That's awesome. And I think that's really indicative of the whole, the sermon that we preach about. Don't treat your salesperson like a hired gun, because when you do treat your salesperson like a hired gun, you miss out on all the things you just said, Drew. So that's such a great example of that. For me, the unexpected benefit happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I went away. I think I was in Cabo, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it was in March of the year. You came in May, and there was no vacation for me that year, because we were in growth mode and whatever. But the following year in March, I went to Cabo, and I remember being in Cabo, and you guys closed a couple of deals while I was gone. And I remember you guys were being really good not to text me or bother me while I was in Cabo, but you texted me about that. And I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. I can actually go to Cabo and disconnect and spend time with my wife, and deals can get closed. And holy cow, that was a great moment for me, man. That was awesome. I'll never forget it.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, as you know, we end every episode with a toast. Steve, you're up. What are we raising our glasses to this week?
Yeah, to me, it makes total sense based on this conversation that we need to raise our glasses to those salespeople who are working with the founder, and really being the first salesperson to go in and take that sales baton from a founder. Because guess what? It takes, as we've heard from Drew, it takes grit, it takes determination, it takes humility to lean in and ask all the questions, even though you might feel like you're a little stupid at doing it. It takes a lot of wisdom to figure out how to simplify things. And what you're doing in all of that is you are creating an even greater future for yourself and for that founder. So here's to them.
Cheers to them.
Love that. Love that. Well, all right. That is a wrap on today's episode of Whiskey is for Closers. If you're sitting there thinking, guys, my situation is different. Spoiler alert, it's not. And Steve and Drew have the battle scars to prove it. And then in the next few weeks, we have a ton of incredible founders on the schedule. Actually, it's not the next few weeks. We are booked with amazing guests into February of next year.
Woo!
So,
holy cow.
Until next time, remember, the best closers know when to not be in the room. Keep scaling, keep sipping, and stop believing you're irreplaceable. Let's
go.
Cheers.
That's awesome.